What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors comes face to face with a talk show host who's clearly done his homework, but for all the wrong reasons? What happens when years of buried industry secrets suddenly get dragged into the spotlight during what was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance? Tonight, we're diving deep into the most explosive late-night television moment in recent memory, where Al Pacino, the legendary actor behind Scarface, The Godfather, and Scent of a Woman, found himself in the hot seat with Jimmy Kimmel. And what started as friendly banter quickly devolved into something much darker. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think about celebrity interviews gone wrong. Your engagement helps us bring you more content like this. The stage was set for what should have been another typical late-night appearance. Al Pacino, now in his 80s but still carrying that unmistakable intensity that made him a household name, walked onto Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote his latest project. The audience erupted in applause as Pacino took his seat, flashing that familiar crooked smile that had charmed audiences for decades. Jimmy Kimmel, known for his sometimes edgy humor and willingness to push boundaries, seemed particularly animated that evening. "Al Pacino, everybody," Kimmel announced to thunderous applause. "The man, the myth, the legend. How are you doing tonight?" Pacino settled into his chair, adjusting his signature dark glasses. "I'm doing well, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on." Of course. Of course. Now, before we talk about your new work, I have to ask you something that's been on my mind for years." Kimmel's tone shifted slightly, becoming more serious. "You've been in this business for over 50 years. You've seen it all, haven't you?" Pacino raised an eyebrow. "I've seen my share." "Yes, your share," Kimmel repeated, leaning forward. "That's interesting phrasing. Because I've been doing some digging, Al, and I found some very interesting stories about your early days in Hollywood. Stories that maybe you thought would stay buried." The audience fell silent. Pacino's expression hardened slightly. "Jimmy, I'm here to talk about my current project. I'm not sure what you're getting at." "Oh, I think you know exactly what I'm getting at." Kimmel's voice took on a confrontational edge. "Let's talk about the Corsican Brothers incident from 1978. You remember that, don't you?" Pacino's jaw tightened. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Really? Because I have it on good authority that you were involved in some very questionable behavior during the filming of that movie. Behavior that involved other actors, intimidation tactics, and some very serious allegations that were swept under the rug." "Jimmy, I don't know where you're getting your information, but it's wrong." Pacino's voice remained steady, but there was steel beneath it. Kimmel pulled out a manila folder from beneath his desk. "See, that's where it gets interesting because I have documents here, Al. Real documents, witness statements, police reports that were never filed, testimonies from people who were there." "You're playing a dangerous game here, Jimmy." Pacino's voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but the microphone picked up every word. "Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been playing dangerous games for 50 years. Kimmel opened the folder dramatically. "Should we start with the allegations from your co-star on Serpico? Or maybe we should jump right to the really juicy stuff from the Scarface set." Pacino stood up abruptly. "This interview is over. Sit down, Al. We're just getting started." Kimmel's voice was cold now. All pretense of friendly banter gone. "You don't get to walk away from this. Not anymore. Watch me." Pacino started to remove his microphone. "You know what I find fascinating about your generation of actors?" Kimmel continued, ignoring Pacino's attempt to leave. "You all think you're untouchable. You think because you've got some Oscars and a legendary reputation, you can just pretend the past never happened." Pacino stopped, his hand frozen on the microphone clip. "What did you just say?" "You heard me. The past has a way of catching up with everyone, doesn't it? Even legends like you, Jimmy. I don't know what kind of show you think you're running here, but this isn't journalism. This is a hit job." "A hit job?" Kimmel laughed. But there was no humor in it. "This is accountability. This is what happens when people finally start asking the right questions." "The right questions?" Pacino's voice rose slightly. "You ambush me on live television with what? Rumors, gossip, fabricated documents." "Fabricated?" Kimmel held up a piece of paper. "This police report from 1979 would suggest otherwise. The one that details your alleged involvement in the incident with the young actress from that independent film you did. The one who mysteriously disappeared from Hollywood right after filming Wrapped." The audience was completely silent now. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. "That's enough." Pacino's voice was deadly quiet. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? Because I've got 3 witnesses who say otherwise. 3 people who were there, who saw what happened, who've been carrying this secret for over 40 years. Jimmy, I'm warning you. Warning me? Kimmel's voice dripped with mock concern. Oh, I'm terrified. What are you going to do, Al? Make me an offer I can't refuse. The cheap Godfather reference hung in the air like a slap. Pacino's eyes flashed with something dangerous. You think this is funny? You think people's lives are a joke for your entertainment? I think the truth is entertaining. And the truth is, you've been hiding behind your reputation for decades while real victims have suffered in silence. What victims? What are you talking about? The victims of your temper, Al. The victims of your ego. The victims of your need to control everything and everyone around you. Pacino shook his head in disbelief. This is insane. You're completely out of line. Am I? Or am I finally doing what someone should have done years ago? Kimmel leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smirk spreading across his face. You know what, Al? I think we're finally getting somewhere. I can see it in your eyes. That look you get when you're backed into a corner. I'm not backed into anything, Pacino replied, but his voice had lost some of its earlier conviction. Oh, but you are. See, the thing about secrets is they have a way of eating you alive from the inside. And I think you've been carrying this weight for a very long time. Kimmel shuffled through his papers again. Let's talk about Marina Volov. The name hit Pacino like a physical blow. His face went pale, and for a moment he seemed to age 10 years right there on stage. I don't know anyone by that name, he said, but his voice cracked slightly. Really? Because Marina Volov was a 22-year-old actress who worked with you on 3 Days of Rain. Beautiful girl, talented, had her whole career ahead of her. And then she just vanished. Poof, gone. Actors leave the business all the time. It's a tough industry. They do, don't they? But they don't usually leave behind a hospital report documenting injuries consistent with physical assault. They don't usually have their friends calling the police, worried about their safety. Pacino gripped the arms of his chair. Jimmy, I don't know what sick game you're playing, but you're crossing a line here. The only line being crossed was crossed 40 years ago, Al, in a hotel room in Philadelphia. Room 427 at the Meridian Hotel. Ring any bells? The audience gasped audibly. Some people in the front row looked genuinely shocked. Pacino's breathing became more labored. This is slander. This is defamation. You can't just make accusations like this on live television. I'm not making accusations. I'm asking questions. Questions that should have been asked a long time ago. Kimmel pulled out another document. See, Marina kept a diary. And in that diary, she wrote about her experiences working with you, about how you would corner her in her trailer, about how you made it clear that her career depended on keeping you happy. That's a lie. Is it? Because I have copies of that diary right here. Should I read some excerpts to our audience? Don't you dare. Oh, now you're getting angry. Good. Let's see that famous Pacino temper everyone's heard about, but no one talks about publicly. Pacino stood up again, this time more aggressively. You have no right to air someone's private thoughts on television. Even if what you're saying is true, which it isn't, you're violating that woman's privacy. Her privacy? Al, Marina Volov died 3 years ago. Overdose. Alone. In a studio apartment in Burbank. No family, no friends, no career, just the memories of what happened to her in Hollywood. The studio fell into complete silence. Even the crew members stopped moving. Pacino stood frozen, staring at Kimmel with a mixture of horror and rage. You're lying, he whispered. I wish I was. But the coroner's report is public record. As is the note she left behind. Want to know what it said? Stop. It said, and I quote, "Some monsters wear masks, but the worst ones hide behind fame and respect. Al Pacino destroyed my life, and no one will ever believe me." Pacino lunged forward, but caught himself before reaching Kimmel's desk. Security guards who had been standing by moved closer to the stage. You son of a, Pacino snarled. How dare you use a dead woman to attack me? How dare you? I'm not using her. I'm giving her a voice. Something she never had when she was alive. She was troubled. She had problems with drugs, with alcohol. She was unstable. Ah, there it is. The classic defense. Blame the victim. She was unstable. She was troubled. She was asking for it. Sound familiar? I never said she was asking for anything. But you did hurt her, didn't you? Pacino's silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. The cameras captured every second of his internal struggle. I want to see those documents, he finally said. What? You heard me. If you're going to destroy my reputation on live television, I want to see exactly what evidence you think you have. Kimmel hesitated for the first time in the interview. Al, I don't think that's necessary. Oh, but it is. Because either you have real evidence, in which case you should be talking to the police instead of exploiting it for ratings, or you're running an elaborate con job. Which is it, Jimmy? I have multiple sources confirming these allegations. Sources, not evidence. Sources. Do you know the difference? I know the difference between right and wrong. And what you did to that girl was wrong. What I allegedly did. What you claim I did, based on the word of people who weren't there. Documents you won't show me. And the diary of a woman who struggled with mental illness her entire adult life. So, you admit you knew about her mental health issues? I admit nothing. But if you had done your homework, which you clearly haven't, you'd know that Marina Vulov spent time in rehabilitation facilities throughout the 80s and 90s. She had a long history of making false accusations against men in the industry. False accusations, or accusations that were covered up by powerful men like you. Jimmy, let me ask you something. How much did you pay for these so-called documents? Because there's a whole cottage industry of people who make a living selling fake evidence to tabloids and gossip shows. For the first time, Kimmel looked genuinely rattled. These documents are authentic. Prove it. Show them to me. Let me examine them. Let me call my lawyers and have them authenticated. This is a talk show, not a courtroom. No, this is an ambush. This is character assassination disguised as entertainment. And I think your audience deserves to know the truth about what kind of show they're watching. Pacino turned to face the cameras directly. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing here is not journalism. This is not holding anyone accountable. This is a desperate attempt to generate controversy and ratings by destroying someone's reputation based on unverified gossip. Don't turn this around on me, Al. This isn't about ratings. Isn't it? Because your ratings have been slipping lately, haven't they, Jimmy? Must be tough competing with all those streaming platforms and social media influencers. I bet a big scandal involving a Hollywood legend would really help boost those numbers. This has nothing to do with ratings. Then why didn't you contact me before the show? Why didn't you give me a chance to respond to these allegations privately? Why ambush me on live television unless you were more interested in the spectacle than the truth? Kimmel's composure was starting to crack. Because men like you have been getting away with this behavior for decades. Because the system protects you. What system? What behavior? You still haven't shown me one piece of concrete evidence. Al Pacino walks off Jimmy Kimmel's show. Part 3. Kimmel shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his earlier confidence beginning to waver. I have testimony from 3 witnesses who were on that set. Names, Jimmy. Give me names. If these people are willing to come forward with such serious accusations, surely they're willing to put their names behind them. I can't reveal my sources. Of course you can't. How convenient. Pacino's voice dripped with sarcasm. You know what I think happened here? I think you got sold a bill of goods by someone with an agenda. Someone who knew you'd be hungry enough for a big story that you wouldn't bother to verify the facts. The facts are verified. By whom? Your researchers, your producers? Do any of them have experience in criminal investigation? Do any of them know how to authenticate documents that are supposedly 40 years old? Kimmel's face was flushing red now. Elle, you're deflecting. You're trying to make this about my methods instead of your actions. Your methods are the story here, Jimmy, because what you're doing right now is destroying the concept of due process on national television. You're conducting a trial by media, and you've already decided I'm guilty. I'm giving victims a voice. What victims? The woman who's been dead for 3 years? The anonymous sources who won't show their faces? Or are you talking about yourself? Are you the victim here, Jimmy? The poor talk show host who just had to expose the big bad actor. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. Some people looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats as they watched their beloved host being systematically dismantled. This is exactly what I expected from you, Kimmel said, trying to regain control. Attack the messenger instead of addressing the message. The message? What message? That Al Pacino is a monster because Jimmy Kimmel says so? That 50 years of working in this industry, 50 years of relationships with hundreds of actors, directors, producers means nothing because you've got some papers in a folder. It means that power corrupts. It means that fame protects people who should be held accountable. Pacino laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about power, Jimmy? You want to talk about accountability? Let's talk about what you just did to me. You invited me onto your show under false pretenses. You ambushed me with unsubstantiated allegations. You aired what you claim are private diary entries of a dead woman without her consent or her family's permission. You've potentially destroyed my reputation, damaged my relationships, and caused incredible pain to people who care about me. And for what? For ratings? For clicks? For your own twisted sense of justice? I did what needed to be done. No, you did what you wanted to do. There's a difference. If you really believed these allegations, if you really cared about justice, you would have gone to the authorities. You would have encouraged these supposed witnesses to file police reports. You would have worked with legitimate journalists who know how to handle sensitive material responsibly. The authorities don't care about cases this old. How do you know? Did you try, or did you just assume they wouldn't care because it better suited your narrative? Kimmel was clearly struggling now. Sweat was visible on his forehead, and his hands were shaking slightly as he shuffled through his papers. Al, I understand you're upset, but running away isn't going to make this go away. Running away? Jimmy, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes letting you destroy my character on live television. I've answered your questions. I've challenged your evidence. I've given you every opportunity to present facts instead of innuendo. What more do you want from me? I want you to take responsibility for what you've done. Responsibility for what? You still haven't told me what specific crime you think I committed. You've made vague references to intimidation, to assault, to covering things up, but you haven't presented one concrete allegation with specific details that can be investigated or verified. The diary entries are specific. The diary entries that you won't let me see. The diary entries from a woman who, by your own admission, struggled with mental health issues and substance abuse. Jimmy, do you understand how evidence works? Do you understand the difference between an allegation and proof? I understand that powerful men have been silencing women for centuries. And I understand that destroying someone's reputation based on rumors and gossip isn't justice. It's vigilantism. You're not a prosecutor, Jimmy. You're not a judge. You're not even a real journalist. You're a comedian who hosts a talk show. And you've decided to play detective with someone's life. The audience was growing restless. Some people were whispering to each other. Others were looking around uncomfortably. The atmosphere in the studio had shifted from anticipation to something much more uncomfortable. This interview is over, Pacino said, standing up and removing his microphone pack. I came here in good faith to talk about my work. And you've turned it into a circus. Al, please sit down. We're not finished. Yes, we are. Pacino's voice was calm now, but there was finality in it. Jimmy, I've been in this business for over 50 years. I've worked with thousands of people. I've made enemies and I've made friends. I've had my share of conflicts and my share of regrets, but I have never ever hurt anyone the way you're describing. And the fact that you would use the tragedy of a woman's death to attack me tells me everything I need to know about your character. Don't walk away from this, Al. Don't walk away from the truth. Pacino paused at the edge of the stage. The truth, Jimmy. The truth is that you've just demonstrated everything that's wrong with our culture right now. You've shown that accusations are more powerful than evidence, that destruction is more entertaining than construction, and that a person's entire life's work can be dismissed based on the word of anonymous sources and unverified documents. So, you're just going to leave? You're going to let people think you're guilty. I'm going to let people think for themselves. Something you apparently don't trust them to do. Pacino looked directly into the main camera. To everyone watching at home, I want you to remember what you just saw here. You saw a man being tried and convicted on live television without evidence, without due process, without even the basic courtesy of knowing what he was being accused of before he walked onto this stage. Kimmel was visibly panicking now. Al, please just sit down and let's talk about this rationally. Rationally, Jimmy? There's nothing rational about what you just did. You've crossed a line that should never be crossed. You've weaponized your platform to destroy someone based on nothing more than your own desire for a big story. With that, Al Pacino walked off the stage, leaving Jimmy Kimmel sitting alone at his desk, clutching his folder of questionable documents, facing an audience that was no longer sure who the real villain was in this story. The cameras continued rolling as Kimmel tried to recover, but the damage was done. In trying to tear down a legend, he had revealed himself to be something much worse than anything he had accused Pacino of being. So, what do you think? Was Jimmy Kimmel right to confront Al Pacino with these allegations? Or did he cross a line that should never be crossed? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Shoaib Buzzer Stories for more incredible stories like this one.